2021 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen will come to order. Let's do the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The public here for the record, so no comments from the public. Could I get a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of November 17th, 2021?
So moved.
For your
A second.
motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Stacey. Correspondence. So we received an application from Derek Johnson, who's interested in serving on the Economic Development Commission, and we'll get to.
Question?
Yeah.
Because I know we have a couple of applicants. When we're ready, will we interview?
In January, Stacey sent an email actually today to all the applicants saying that the January, whatever the first week of the first January date is, we'll do an interview with all of them because there's a number of them, which is exciting.
All right, and can I ask? I think it's important if I wanted to ask some questions about their understanding of the budget process.
Oh, all right.
Because the economic development is all about development and tax revenue and why it's important to the mill rate, and so I just wanted to.
That's a great idea.
Because I know we have specific questions that we ask them, but to maybe have something.
If you want to email Stacey, if you have like a way you want to word it, and we can add it into the packet questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think.
Yeah. I think it does. Yeah.
Oh, and perhaps also. Would they know where to find our zoning regulations?
Oh yeah.
I mean, because those are all.
Yeah. Like what's their understanding of our zoning regulations?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of tie it in with the purpose.
Oh yeah.
Of the economic development.
Not lose sight of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So do you send both of those questions, or
Yeah.
then we can work them in. So no, nothing else under appointment or reappointment or resignation. Under old business, I did just want to give an update on the Flood Erosion Control Board. Basically, just since our last update, we have been discussing the topic internally. So we met with our town planner, with Keith, to discuss this board in more detail, and also Keith and Stacey and I all kind of separately reviewed the minutes from a number of other towns that have this board in place, not necessarily with the new climate angle, but that just have the Flood Erosion Control Board in place. And based on that review, as what we've established as our own next steps internally, is that we're going to meet with the Director of Public Works and the Town Engineer to talk about how they would or could potentially interact with this board, because that's where it seems to sit with a lot of other towns. And then we know also obviously the current workload of the Town Engineer is extensive, as it is for Public Works. And so since we're putting in for a new engineering position for this budget, I think likely that conversation will lead to us needing to wait a bit if they're going to be the point person for getting this new board up and running and helping them work through everything that might not be able to happen quite as quickly as I think we maybe originally hoped based on that conversation with the Climate Task Force. But again, once I meet with Barbara and Chris, I'll be able to, I think, get more insights, but I just wanted to kind of give that as an update. But if you guys have any other questions or any other work you want us to do in the meantime.
No, I actually reread the reg today.
Okay.
And I'll send you a copy. And there's just so much to it that I agree. I don't think we're ready to make a decision right now. I mean, I think right now, for the time being, it's better that we leave it kind of under our control as we evaluate it. And then as we move forward, like you're saying, talking to the different point people and really understanding the pieces of it.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I think we're in good shape having an advisory committee under the, the Climate Task Force. Yeah. And they're doing good work already, especially looking for potential grants. And so the fact that we've got this advisory committee, maybe we think about, well, would it work to have advisory committees for the other parts of it, as opposed to just one committee that does all of this work. But again, I think it's something we need to take some time to look at.
Could we have, like, after you meet with, with the department heads, maybe could we have a special meeting with them to try to also understand the full?
Yeah, I think if we get there, we can invite them to come into a meeting or do a special one during the day and come in. And I think the other thing is I want to reach out to some of the towns that actually had, because reading the minutes was really helpful, but I think it would be helpful to get some more direct insights, because it does seem like different towns take it a different way, and we obviously wanna be sure we're making good use of everyone's time if we have this, and like you said, it's a lot, and it's hard to digest a bit, like, you have been applying it for Stonington, how would we use this for it? So, so if you wanna update the climate change task force whenever about that, and then if like they wanna do any research to help us add into it, or maybe come up with like a Stonington model, like what they think, a few months of work would look like as a scenario for Stonington, because I think it's still the, struggle, like I was reading Waterford's, and they had some very specific projects that they were working on or issues, and Westport had some other different issues, so yeah, I think it would just be good to know if, especially since Rick has been the one leading on this, like if he already has thoughts or ideas of where we're missing things or should be doing things, it might be helpful to get a kind of a sample of what like future agendas might look like for that group, and then like I said, it's just also just the resourcing issue internally.
Yeah, and I think we also need to kind of look at the whole checks and balance piece of it, because there's so much power associated with that board to really understand how it would flow and how.
Yeah, we should interview with the right skill set, and yeah.
Exactly. And would it come back, to the selectmen for final approval, and we already know certain funds would still go through board of finance, but, I think we really need to understand the flow of it as well as the tasks.
Yes.
Okay.
If you've been reading through that, also other questions you want us to send to the town attorney, because like we said, it was really helpful to realize with the eminent domain thing, like it would still have to come to us, and then Board of Finance, and the town attorney, and there's a ton of checks for that part, but if there's other things that made like an antenna go up, yeah.
Okay, I'll flag some of those then.
Okay, thank you guys. Okay, so then under new business, we have a request, so we have a request to rescind the additional appropriation we did last meeting to repairs and maintenance account for the Department of Public Works, and then the next motion will be to do a different amount. So we'll rescind it, and then we'll put forward a new amount. So at our November 17th meeting, we approved an additional appropriation of $125,000 for repairs and maintenance for the DPW fleet. The Board of Finance, we're actually able to find other line items within the budget to help support the request, and therefore asking that we rescind the previously approved appropriation. So could I get a motion to rescind the additional appropriation approved on November 17th by the Board of Selectmen in the amount of $125,000 for the Department of Public Works repairs and maintenance account? So moved. Here, second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now, as just mentioned, the Board of Finance was able to find other line items within the budget to support this request, and therefore the request from the Department of Public Works for an additional appropriation is now in the amount of $49,115.96 for repairs and maintenance account to fund repairs needed for DPW fleet and equipment. The item will go to the Board of Finance for the final approval. Do I hear a motion to approve the additional appropriation for the Department of Public Works repairs and maintenance account in the amount of $49,115.96?
So moved.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have questions. So I was at the Board of Finance meeting when they were going through all the different little buckets of money for this. So instead of taking money from fund balance, I know there was I thought the total number was going to be around $79,000 or $80,000, so not $49,000. So
okay, well, is that because okay, I don't know. This is what Jim gave us, though, right? So yeah, it might be because maybe they I think it had to do, if I'm remembering correctly, this is for the additional appropriation, whereas they found some other money, so they don't need our approval for additional appropriation, they're just moving it from another line item to cover the amount. So
okay, because I know there was some money left over from the WPCA bond.
Yeah.
And then there was some money left over, they found money for a new truck, and there was a little bit of money left over for that.
Yeah.
And then there was like three little buckets. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, but little compared to our whole, budget, right? I mean, it's still a lot of money, but so all right. So I'm happy with that, and I do also want to say that the Board of Finance was extremely supportive of. They told Barbara that, as far as the repairs go, if she exceeds the repairs, whatever she's going to get now, to not hold up a repair, that they'll find other monies to do that to get through this year until new trucks and, you know, stuff like that, so.
That's
Okay, all right, I just wanted to,
Yeah, no,
that's what Jim
appreciate
came
it.
up with, okay, all right.
All right, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. So we also got a request for use of the town dock space from the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. And essentially it would be, it's a potential, they're not sure they wanna do it, but they wanted just to go through the steps for approval just in case. So with the lobster trap tree down there, they were thinking about possibly doing a little s'mores village and some caroling. Sometime, they're not sure when, but between December 17th and the 23rd. The events could occur, you know, once or more timeframes, and will always be overseen by chamber staff. This is to kind of enhance the community engagement around the lobster trap tree. And if they did this, they'd also be working with Chief Hoadley and others to get all the final approval. But again, they just wanted to get our approval as a first step in case they do decide to move forward with this this year. So could I get a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second?
Any discussion?
No, it's pretty impressive lobster trap tree.
I
It's
know.
very emotional. I
Yes.
mean, it really is.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It
So.
really is amazing.
Yes.
I'll mention something actually about it in my comments.
Yeah,
I'll hold it,
actually,
but-
so, my comments.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Right, so the next thing is, comments from the selectmen. So Deb?
Just 2 or 3 quick things. I will be attending the Board of Ed meeting tomorrow night.
Okay,
so
good.
I'll continue to follow up on, you know, the process for the new superintendent.
Okay,
How
good, thank
things
you.
are going. I had a very good meeting. Susan and I met with Mike O'Neill and Chad Frost to talk about the Mystic River Park, the conceptual plan, the grading, where they came up with the numbers, to help us understand what ties into the remediation and what's infrastructure, and why certain elevations might be important. Because, you know, we had seen the plan, but really didn't have the background because we hadn't been involved, neither of us.
Mhm.
And so it was a really helpful, good meeting, and we really have a much better understanding. We also talked a bit about that driveway and the easement, and, you know, there's some additional work to understand that, but I think, you know, we'll work to really try to tie everything in together. And we're hopeful that some of these other grants, like the one that you would send,
Yeah.
might help, like with the boardwalk. And so
Really
maybe there'll be a
interesting,
way to actually move that forward, you know, and kind of, it's not really part of the remediation, but it does tie into kind of protecting the public as they walk through the park and over the living shoreline. So, it was actually a really helpful meeting, so.
Because those were all the questions, a lot of questions that came up at the
Yes.
last joint meeting that we had with them
Exactly.
about the elevations and the fill,
Yes.
so, yeah.
So it was very good.
Okay.
I was really pleased. And then I just wanted to, as I said, you know, giant kudos to Lisa Kanicki. Oh my God, that is such a fabulous tree down there. You know, we've been down there, there's loads of people, they're all engaged, they're taking pictures, they're walking around it, they're looking at buoys, and in the day and at night when it's lit up, and it's just such a wonderful community thing. And I remember, you know, when she approached us with the idea, and it was kind of like, oh, it's kind of interesting. Well, I mean, it's great. I'm so thrilled about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know, so Alan and I have a buoy on it, and we went down there during the day it's like walk all the way around to see if we could find it. We found it.
Oh, good.
So, and when we found it, we're like, oh, like, you know, it was like a piece of our hearts were up there on the tree. It's really pretty cool. So the police, I attended the police commission. I mean, the big thing right now is looking for a candidate to replace Chief Stewart. And their whole process, they went into executive session, so I wasn't invited to that. I didn't ask to be invited to it, but planning and zoning, the Perkins Farm expansion was approved. So it was really, I think I mentioned this last time, the support of all the different doctors that are there that help patients. It was just a tremendous amount of support of all the different parks. for the expansion, so that all got approved. Commission on Aging, so we really just talked more about senior needs during the holidays, and the neighborhood center is still over 500 Thanksgiving dinners and over 500 Christmas dinners that they're gonna supply to people. And Susan Zadinsky is working on looking at what other neighboring towns provide for seniors, and she asked if it would be okay if she could get to it in January, and I said, well, of course it's okay, because there's so much going on with the holiday, with Thanksgiving and Christmas and whatnot. So I said, well, yeah, when we asked for that, the turnaround time doesn't have to be like immediate. So she's going to work on that.
Good. Okay.
And I think that was it. Yeah, with the Board of Finance, with Barbara, with the DPW's requests for a new truck, which is great because we found the money. They found the money for getting a new truck, and the tremendous support for what DPW does. But then also understanding the fleet and how it's starting to fall apart. So, the cost of keeping that up, it's just as important as the police cars. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I'll keep mine quick. We'll try and make this a record meeting. So, I wanted to let you guys know that I think it was actually today. I posted an update on Al Harvey on the town website. I wrote mostly Trust for Public Land took the heavy lift in writing it, and then Apollonia and myself fed into it. And we've been working on it for about a week now, and I'm hoping it helps kind of explain the process and procedures. And but if you have people who have questions, or if you know people who have any concerns or just interest about the project, maybe share that with them and see what they, if they have feedback or other questions, they can always add to it. It doesn't have to be a static document.
So let me just ask, so are we ready to close on the property in February?
So Trust for Public Land is in the process of finalizing the appraisal, which is like the big step. So when the appraisal comes back, that's when Avalonia and us will take a look, but mostly it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife will take a look, and it has to meet all their federal standards for how much it's worth versus the option versus different things. And then there's another neighbor that has to be consulted because they have a right to purchase a portion of it.
Okay.
So it's definitely Trust for Public Land is handling all the complicated, very complicated legal details, but basically once the appraisal's done, that's when it'll go to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and then they do this whole predetermined process and see if it is suitable on a lot of different fronts, and that's when a lot of their work will start. And then should be before the closing that people will have a chance to provide public input via the process that U.S. Fish and Wildlife has set up. And then Avalonia has a different process, but there, we can work closer together.
Okay.
But again, both of them are very well respected land trusts, and they were kind of like, we have a process, we need to follow it. It's there for a reason. So hopefully that'll come through. Then just really Jim Sullivan, Director of Finance, and I sat down today and went over the COG put together a possible way we can basically get all the people who are getting ARPA money from us to kind of report back in different phases and different options, so we can get some of the money out now before maybe more of the reporting is completed. And so we're really close to finalizing that, and it's definitely a heavy lift for the finance department, so it's a thanks to them and also the COG for helping their staff for putting this together. We're the first town that they're doing it for, so we're kind of piloting it, and then we're giving them feedback. Actually tonight I'll send it, the feedback to them, and then hopefully then other towns can use the same model that we're using, so there'll be some consistency.
Jim mentioned that at the Board of Finance meeting too, but he said that the questionnaire or the follow-up was really comprehensive and not necessary to be that detailed for some of the...
Yeah, for some of them it's like a $10,000 and it's pretty direct, so we're trying to be flexible. So we sent an email today to all of the ARPA funding recipients just to let them know what's happening in the process, so hopefully that'll get moving quickly. Then yesterday was the cultural district meeting, kind of final meeting of this phase. So the Economic Development Commission has been working really hard with Wendy Burry from the Southeastern Connecticut Cultural Coalition, having different community conversations. I think there's been 3 all around different parts of town to engage business owners, residents, and mostly artists about how we could take advantage of this new state program. And Reading is the only town so far who's actually done it. New London is filing their paperwork to do it, and then Torrington is filing paperwork soon to do it. So we'd love for Torrington to be in that first mover category. It was great. The Rio Salado, Bill Middleton posted it for everyone. It was really nice. A lot of artists came out, different people I've never met. It was really nice. And basically what we need is a commitment from probably somewhere between like 15 to 20 people from all different parts of town, and different backgrounds and interests to be willing to join this kind of committee, which would likely be set up as a subcommittee of the EDC for cultural districts. And then Wendy and her team would be able to really work closely with them, and so would Susan and myself and anybody else who wants to get involved. But I think it could be really exciting. So like Old Mystic area, kind of down there, the downtown Mystic and the borough all have enough cultural assets that have been inventoried. Pawcatuck doesn't have enough yet, but we still said like they should be included as part of this, because again, if they have say 3 and they need to get to 5, this might spur some investors or other people to think, well, maybe I should put something here. Yeah. Some of the ideas could pull over. So I think it has a lot of potential. I was pulling up, she had sent, so the EDC is gonna, and she's gonna work on the cultural list, but if we can help think of anyone to reach out to from healthcare, restaurant, hotel, finance, defense, thinking of any big job employers basically, was the thinking with defense and finance, elder care, a realtor, someone in the education space, nonprofit space, and also maybe even trying to find at least one part-time resident to get that perspective of someone who's not here full-time but more of a part-time person. And she said other communities have done everything from thinking about, maybe it might be a zoning change that needs to happen, or a way to support artists in residence programs, or you could just be creating like a walking path that's narrated or colorful on the sidewalk or in the roadway to lead you to different places. But there's lots of different opportunities. But the number one step is just doing an inventory assets, having like a website dedicated to it, so residents and visitors alike can see all of our cultural assets, and potentially even doing like a calendar where you can see for them and for visitors, like here's all the different events we have going on that fall in this kind of area, and then maybe there's ways to weave them together as a broader umbrella or to do more. So lots of cool ideas were thrown out. We just need, but you can read about them. It's a state initiative called the Cultural Districts that falls under DCD, and then maybe kind of another umbrella within DCD. But it's a really exciting opportunity, so hopefully we'll be able to take that forward. So in January is when we're going to kind of put out that final call for members and see if we can get it off the ground. And obviously the borough and Jeff Callahan will be key because they have a lot of the assets. And then the last 2 things are, we got a $4,000 grant from the Pawcatuck Wild and Scenic Stewardship Council. So Fred Wagner did amazing and helped write a grant for us, and that money can be used towards a conceptual design for the circus lot. So the idea to bring in, whether it's like a landscape architect type person, but to draw kind of like what could be, what are some opportunities, some ideas of what this might cost. And I know the EDC has some money, so we're gonna meet and talk about how best to combine, but if you have thoughts or ideas on that, but the idea from their council was like, it could be helpful to, whether it's presenting to residents to engage them, or talking to the Board of Finance, or looking for grants, that it could be helpful to have this sort of, plain visual draft of what could be back there. And so hopefully, yeah, that was just a nice update. And then the very last thing was on the lobster tree. It was so nice. Last week I was in Hartford for this DCD event, and then Wendy Burry was up there for another event, and we both heard similar things. We were comparing last night, but how many people they brought up the lobster tree, that they'd heard about it. And I guess at one of the sessions she was in, someone brought up how it was like the perfect example of this intersection that everyone in the state wants to see, of like arts and culture with tourism, and support for small businesses, and how that kind of encompasses like all of them in one project. And like it was just this amazing like tribute. And so the governor should be actually coming down this week to see the tree.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so that would
great.
be really nice. And they've been getting a lot of press, and like you said, it's also taken them a lot of effort now to have staff down there all the time and to keep doing the engagement, because it's been so popular and they want to explain it and help with it. So if you guys know of any volunteers that might be willing to go down there, they could reach out to Lisa, and even if they give a few hours just to like stand there and explain what the tree is, welcome people. They're also looking for donations for people to come by. But that's all stuff there. So that is it.
That's really great.
Anything else? We made it under 6. All right, the meeting is adjourned.